If you want to see how the DeLonghi Rivelia works, discover all the drinks it can prepare, understand what makes each one different, learn what maintenance it requires, and explore all the advanced features of this coffee maker, don't miss this honest review. We've spent several weeks testing it so we can tell you whether it's really worth it. Let's start by talking about the most outstanding feature of the DeLonghi Rivelia, its interchangeable coffee bean container system called the bean switch system. These containers allow you to use different types of coffee beans for each brew in a very simple way, something truly innovative that very few coffee makers on the market offer. The main benefit of this system is that you can enjoy coffees from different origins with just a simple switch. Keep in mind that with high-quality whole bean coffee, the aroma and flavor notes are much more noticeable, so this feature is especially appealing in a super automatic coffee maker like this one. To change the coffee container, simply twist it counterclockwise by hand to remove it, and clockwise to lock it back in. Besides trying out different types of coffee, this dual container system is also very useful for making decaf coffee from whole beans. In case you didn't know, there are also decaf whole coffee beans available. So if you often drink decaf, the bean switch system can be very useful for you as well. But that's not all. This coffee maker also lets you use ground coffee. This is helpful in case you ever run out of beans, or to prepare decaf without sacrificing your 2 bean containers for caffeinated beans. Another standout feature of this coffee maker is its 3.5-inch color display, which makes the machine extremely intuitive to use. It makes every step to select and customize your drinks simple and easy to understand. And if you need to configure something more complex, the machine will guide you step by step so you won't run into any issues. This also allows the main control panel to have very few buttons and remain uncluttered. Basically, you have the power button, 2 buttons to filter between black coffee drinks and milk-based recipes, and this button here that lets you access the customization profiles, which I'll show you later. Another thing we really liked about the screen is that during drink preparation, it shows polished animations for each phase of the process. It's not especially functional, but it does make the machine feel more premium. If we're being picky, it's true that depending on where the machine is placed, the fact that the screen lies flat can make it slightly uncomfortable to view. But considering all the other benefits, we see it as a minor issue. As you've probably noticed while looking at the screen, another strong point of this coffee maker is the wide variety of drinks it can prepare. Specifically, it can prepare all the drinks you're seeing on screen right now. The difference between these recipes mainly comes down to the amount of coffee, milk, and milk foam used in each preparation. Additionally, you can make several adjustments to each one to suit your preferences. Another important feature that sets the Rivelia apart from other coffee makers is its LatteCrema system, which lets you control the amount of foam in each drink, a key detail for preparing the recipes we're about to explore. Let's start with milk-based coffee drinks, beginning with a classic, the cappuccino. This drink is made with a shot of espresso and roughly double that amount of milk and milk foam. Among milk-based drinks, it's one of the most balanced in terms of coffee and milk ratio, since other drinks, as we'll see later, have a much higher proportion of milk. Another feature that distinguishes the cappuccino is the generous layer of foam, as you can see in this example. Also, as you may have noticed, for this recipe, the coffee maker dispenses the milk first, and then the coffee. This creates slightly separated layers and gives the drink its distinctive taste. The next recipe is the cappuccino mix. As you can see, it's very similar in terms of coffee, milk, and foam proportions. But in this case, the cappuccino mix is prepared by dispensing the coffee first and then the milk. This makes the coffee and milk blend more thoroughly, giving it a different flavor profile. Moving on to drinks with a higher proportion of milk, we have the latte macchiato. In this case, the Rivelia uses much more milk than coffee, resulting in a drink with a much milder coffee taste. As you'll see, it also includes a good amount of milk foam, even more than in a cappuccino. In the same category, we also have the caffè latte, which is quite similar to the latte macchiato, but with a few differences. In this case, it includes even more milk and less foam than the latte macchiato, giving it a distinct character. If you're someone who prefers coffee drinks where the coffee flavor stands out more, then you'll love the flat white. This recipe uses more coffee than the previous ones, with a slightly higher amount of milk and just a small amount of foam. As you can see by the color, coffee clearly dominates this recipe. On the other hand, there are drinks with much less milk or foam, like the cortado, which also starts with an espresso base, but uses a similar amount of milk and a minimal amount of foam. Also in this category is the espresso macchiato, typically an espresso with just a touch of foam on top, although in this version a small amount of milk is also added. And to finish with the milk-based drinks, it's worth noting that you can also prepare hot milk, with or without foam, to enjoy on its own or to combine with any drink you like. Now let's look at the different black coffee drinks that the Rivelia can prepare. Let's start with how it makes an espresso. All you have to do is press the espresso button on the top panel, and as you'll see, the machine starts grinding the beans and preparing the drink. The exact amount of coffee beans the machine uses depends on the strength setting you select in the customization menu. If you choose a stronger coffee, the machine will grind and use more beans. If you choose a milder coffee, it will use less. As you probably know, espresso is known for using a small amount of water to achieve a more intense flavor. This machine is pre-configured to use about 1.35 fluid ounces of water, but you can adjust it to use more or less depending on your taste. As you can see, the coffee has a rich color and the classic crema layer that defines this type of drink. Also in this category there's espresso lungo, very similar to espresso but with a higher amount of water. You also have the option to prepare a double coffee or 2 espressos at the same time. The next recipe is what DeLonghi refers to as coffee in its models. As you'll see in this case, the machine uses the same amount of coffee beans as for an espresso, but it adds much more water. By default, this recipe uses about 6 fluid ounces of water, but it can be configured to serve between about 3.4 and 8.1 fluid ounces. This type of coffee, being more diluted, has a much milder flavor than espresso. And here it is, our cup of coffee. As you can see, it still has great color and a decent crema layer even though it's lighter. Now let's look at the recipe DeLonghi calls long. As you'll see, the preparation is similar to the previous one. The difference is that halfway through, as shown here, the machine performs a second grind, so it uses double the coffee compared to the previous recipe, resulting in a more intense long coffee. This version is preset to use about 5.4 fluid ounces of water, less than the previous drink, but it can also be adjusted between about 3.9 and 8.5 fluid ounces. And here's the result. As you'll notice, it's a bit smaller than the last one, and the flavor is more intense because it uses a double grind. You might find these recipes similar to the typical Americano. They're quite alike, but the difference is that the Americano is prepared by first making an espresso and then adding hot water, which gives it a slightly different character from the others. Lastly, let's talk about hot water for infusions. To prepare this, you need to remove the LatteCrema system and insert the hot water spout that comes as an accessory with the DeLonghi Rivelia. And as you'll see, the machine starts dispensing hot water so you can easily make your favorite tea or infusion. The water temperature is quite high, so you won't have any trouble preparing a proper cup of tea or a similar drink. Aside from all the recipes we've just seen, the DeLonghi Rivelia also includes iced coffee versions. However, it's important to understand what this function actually does. When you select one of these iced coffee recipes, the machine simply asks you to add ice to the glass, but the coffee itself still comes out hot, just like with the regular versions. So, honestly, we don't find this function useful at all, and we don't really understand why DeLonghi includes it on this model. And that's the full list of beverages this model can prepare. Another interesting feature of the DeLonghi Rivelia is its beverage customization profiles. The machine allows you to create different user profiles to save all these settings we've just discussed, so that each household member can easily prepare their personalized drinks. With the coffee routine function, it's even possible for each user to set the machine to show different drink options depending on the time of day. And we haven't yet talked about another very important aspect of this machine, its design. At first glance, this model looks more compact than other DeLonghi machines because the water tank, instead of being built into the body, is located on the side. This makes the machine appear narrower. However, its actual dimensions are similar to other models in the DeLonghi range. It measures about 9.6 inches wide, 16.9 inches deep, and 15.2 inches tall. Speaking of practical aspects, let's talk about tank and container capacity. The DeLonghi Rivelia holds about 47 fluid ounces of water, 8.8 ounces of coffee beans, and up to 10 used coffee pucks. Because of this more compact design, the capacities are slightly smaller than on some other DeLonghi models, so keep in mind you'll need to refill them a bit more often. If you're wondering about cleaning and maintenance, you should know that every 10 coffees, you'll need to empty the grounds container and the drip tray. Roughly once a month, depending on how many coffees you make daily, you'll also need to clean the brew group and the inside of the machine. This is a very common process with super automatic coffee makers. You'll need to do it with the Rivelia and pretty much any similar machine. If you've never owned a super automatic coffee maker before, don't worry. The process is easier than it sounds. Just press the red tabs, rinse the brew group with water to remove coffee residue, dry it well, and put it back in place by gently pressing it in. Aside from regular cleaning, as with most coffee makers, you'll need to descale it when the machine notifies you. We hope you found this video helpful. See you next time.